Respected Rashtrapati Ji, Honorable Pradhan Mantri Ji, Honorable Speaker Lok Sabha, Honorable Dr. Shireen Sharmin Chaudhary, Speaker Bangladesh Parliament, Honorable Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I thank the Honorable Speaker for inviting me to address this conference, whose stated purpose is to highlight the role of women legislators as catalysts for national development. The theme, Role of Women Legislators in Nation Building, is appropriate and timely. Just after 2 days, we will commemorate the International Women's Day to recall and reaffirm that women are entitled to their rights and freedoms without discrimination. This is an appropriate occasion to share some thoughts on two matters of high priority on the national agenda. The first relates to women's political representation, and the second to the performance of women legislators in legislatures. The two need to be considered together sequentially so that assessment and correctives are based on ground realities. Women's vital role was unequivocally recognized in our freedom movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. The women of our country were drawn out not only to participate in large numbers, but also to play an important role in the non-violent struggle against colonial rule. In 1929, championing the cause of women's rights, Gandhiji said, and I quote, "Women must have votes and equal legal status, but the problem does not end there. It only commences at the point where women begin to affect the political deliberations of the nation." End of quote. The framers of our Constitution had the wisdom and foresight to realize that without political equality between men and women, we cannot rightfully claim ourselves to be a true representative democracy. This is why equality before law was granted to both genders in the Constitution. Giving women constitutional right to suffrage is one thing, but its tangible impact in raising women's power and influence in polity and society is an altogether different matter. Notwithstanding the fact that almost 47% of the total voters were women during the last Lok Sabha elections in 2014, patriarchy and social norms have hindered its full reflection in positions of power. More than 2 decades earlier, in the year 1993, the need was felt to give greater representation in elected bodies. This took shape in the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts regarding membership and chairpersonship in panchayats and municipalities. This initiative redefined gender representation in decision-making process at the grassroots level. At present, there are 1.27 million elected women representatives in panchayats, which constitute 43.56% of the total elected representatives. This is perhaps the largest ever representation of women in elected bodies anywhere in the world. Despite the challenges of proxyism, women representatives have performed exceptionally well in local bodies. In recognition of the good performance of women in local bodies, as many as 16 states have introduced 50% reservation for women in panchayats. Other states may follow suit. However, the introduction of statutory requirement of meeting new eligibility conditions such as certain levels of education, number of children or other criteria to fight panchayat elections in many states is loaded against women. This calls for serious reflection. Here is a paradox confronting us. The increase in women's representation at local bodies has not led to commensurate increase in women numbers in legislatures, both at the centre and state. Today, our Parliament's gender profile is woefully unbalanced, with women constituting only 12% of the total membership. As such, the average number of women members in Parliament has never been more than 12% since the first Lok Sabha. In the states too, the average share of women legislators is only 9% in the legislative assemblies and only 6% in legislative councils. This does not compare favorably with global trends. Apart from the Nordic pattern of around 40% women's representation, a recent survey by the Interparliamentary Union shows a world average of 22.7% in national parliaments. A closer look at the participation of women parliamentarians lends weight to the notion that most, though not all, only cover issues relating to women. This also seems to be sustained by data on their membership of parliamentary committees, though the responsibility for this state of affairs is to be shared by party leaderships who, in the final analysis, allow me to mention a few instances to sustain this impression. 1. There are just 2 women members in the 3 financial committees out of their total strength of 74 members. While the Committee on Estimates has 2 women members in the Lok Sabha, there is none in the Committee on Public Accounts and Public Undertakings for both houses. Second, the department-related Standing Committee on Finance does not have a single woman member, while the Committee on Railways has only 1. The Committee on Home Affairs has got 2 women members, whereas the Committee on Defence has 4. In all, there are 7 women members in these 4 committees out of their total strength of 124 members, thus constituting approximately 6%. Thirdly, the 30-member Joint Committee on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2015 has only 1 woman member. Fourthly, even the Committee on Security in Parliament Complex does not have any woman member other than the Speaker as its chairperson. And fifthly, in contrast, however, the Joint Committee on Empowerment of Women has 28 members out of the total strength of 30 members, constituting a whopping 93%. These facts call for some correction. The first corrective has to be made by the political parties. To shore up women's political representation, all political parties need to extend their support to ensure that the Constitutional Amendment Bill to provide 33% reservation to women in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies is not delayed further. Until then, at least they need to expand their pool of women candidates. If we see the track record of the 6 national parties in fielding women candidates during the last general election, 2014, we find that out of a total of 1,591 candidates fielded by them, only 146, constituting 9.17%, were women. This is certainly not very encouraging. Besides, the representative political parties must broad-base their nomination while nominating their women members to be in the committees, statutory bodies, as also while selecting speakers to participate in the debates in the House on other areas of public concern. The leaders and whips of parties in the House need to overcome their own gender bias in engaging the women members in different parliamentary roles. Above all, the women members themselves need to show their interest and contribute meaningfully to debates. The fact that women members, within the limited opportunity available to them, have demonstrated their concern over other issues of national interest must tilt the balance in their favor. Ladies and gentlemen, the task of nation building is an arduous exercise and a complex process. It involves men as much as women. Several studies have shown that women's political participation results in tangible gains for democratic governance, including greater responsiveness to citizens' needs. Women are also often the strongest voices for peace and nonviolence. Women leadership and conflict resolution styles embody democratic ideals, and they tend to work in a less hierarchical, more participatory and more collaborative manner than their male colleagues. Thus, women's contribution is crucial to building a strong and vibrant nation. We can ignore it at our own peril. I compliment the Honorary Speaker, Srimati Sumitra Mahajan, for taking the initiative in organizing this conference. I am confident that its deliberations will bring forth insights that would sharpen the focus on the role of women legislators in nation-building activities. I wish the conference all success. Jai Hind.